As we're getting rock and roll as usual, thank you for joining us on our weekly More Momentum call, which gives us an opportunity to connect with you, engage with you, and just keep the momentum going week in and week out because our industry can be challenged, right, Justin?
Very much so. Very
Yeah,
much
it's
so.
it's been a little challenging for the last 3 years. So this is about you. So
Yeah.
we don't care if it's two people or 100 people. It's all about engaging with whoever wants to learn and engage and all that. So we want you to engage. So start with, as usual, where are you from? Let us know where
Yeah.
you guys are all from. It's kind of fun to find out where some of our uh, community members are from. And Justin, where are you from, buddy?
Man, I was a military kid. I moved all over the place. So I've lived, man, Colorado, Louisiana, Kansas, Texas. Texas is home base. It's where I spent the majority of my time growing up. And my wife and I, our three kids, we live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, a little suburb called South Lake. And I went to high school here, grew up here. I knew as an 18-year-old that, man, this is the place I wanted to raise my family. And sure enough, here we are 18, 19 years later, and we're here.
Well, that's going to be pretty handy for sales mastery next year, then, huh?
It's
You
pretty fun.
drive down
Yeah.
the street.
You'll be right here real quick.
All right,
This year,
Green
not
Bay. We
next
got a
year. Well, yeah,
cheesehead in the house with Christina. I love it.
Green
Omaha.
Bay.
Hey, Eric. Good to see you again, buddy. Eric's always freaking, he's a regular and good for you, Eric. And love seeing you on these all the time. Troy, give us a shout out. I know you're always on these on a regular basis. I like seeing some of our regulars. There's certain people. Phil, I love it. Michael, Razak, one of our top producers too. Chris, the super awesome lone guy. Jeff, where are you from, buddy? Esmeralda. Love hearing from you guys. New Jersey.
Pinky's here. Hi, Pink.
Pinky Tuscadero. You remember that name?
I don't know that one.
Yeah, it was from Happy Days way back in the day. I'm dating
Okay.
myself. Yeah. Yes. I think that's who Fonzie went out with.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm dating myself. Back then, that was it.
Fun.
You had Laverne and Shirley and Happy Days for the week. And then you got lucky when Mork and Mindy showed up. Like I said, I'm dating myself. We didn't have like Netflix and all that stuff. So, Atlantis. Atlantis, shut up, Chris. Chris is probably down the hall from my house, my office.
Atlantis. Man.
He's a goofball. Yeah, one of our funniest dudes on our team for sure, and growing his business. All right, everyone. So we'll go ahead and get rolling. For those who are on the call, thank you for joining us. Again, remember these little reactions. This helps motivate us. Make sure you're listening to us. Lets us know if you like it, like a little heart like that, thumbs up, or something shocking. You know how it works. Kudos. The more the better, because it kind of helps us know that you're engaged. Ask questions. This is for you. This is live. We tried recording this stuff, Justin. It's just not the same as being
Okay.
live, where you can interact, you can joke with each other, you can update each other, and our industry is a timely thing. Things change daily. I mean, shoot, did rates move every single day right now? And what's crazy, it moves like 30 to 50 basis points. Give us a break. Just move slowly and let us not have to call the borrower and go, oh, your rate went up a 1/4%. Oh, your rate went down a 1/4%, right?
And they're a day apart. They're a day apart.
So we're gonna have people continue to jump on, which is really cool. Um, so we have Justin. How do you say your last name? I don't want to hack it.
Padron.
It is what I thought it was. I love
Yeah.
that. Padron. That's right. From Dallas, Fort Worth area, which we love. In fact, we're going to have sales mastery right there at the Dallas Hyatt.
Yeah.
Because middle of the country, great place. A lot of the mortgage industry is based out of there, so that's going to be cool. And love to get to know Justin a little bit more about. I know you've been in the industry what, about 8 years?
This is year number 8. Yeah. December will be 8 years.
Okay. And I know you work with Ryan Grant's team and Neo and Better.com, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. Just transitioned over. First one really loan officer wise or mortgage advisor wise that came over started January 6th.
Wow, boom. So you're going through transition like a lot of people have had to do over the last 4 or 5 years, without a doubt. So
Yeah.
kudos on that. And obviously, you have a family. I can see him behind you.
I do. I've got two boys. My oldest is 6, my middle is 4, and my little girl is actually in my wife's picture or in my wife's belly in that picture, and she's 2 years old. So 3 kiddos, man, a lot of fun. We're busy with coach pitch and t-ball and soccer and trying to run a mortgage business on top of it. So a lot of stuff to keep us
So
moving.
I would imagine. And what's the wife's name?
My wife's name is Erin,
Erin. All
and
right, very
she's starting
cool.
with me on the team on Monday.
Oh, really? Your
She's
wife's going to
coming to
be on
work
their
on the
team?
team. Yeah, she's coming.
Yeah, the whole family is involved. I love that. I love that. You guys are committed then to the industry.
100%. I won't do anything else. I love this stuff. A lot of fun, a lot of great people, and a lot of great ways to impact families and change lives doing what we do.
All right, so we're going to talk about that today. And remember, this is open mic time because we want you to ask questions of Justin. Because one thing you just heard, and we have a whole team, Justin, a really great team. I've been in the industry before you were born, a long time, a long time. I won't even say how long. And Gino and I have been very fortunate to have a great team behind us. But there's times when our team isn't enjoying the industry because of the ups and downs and the uncontrollables. That's what's hard about our business sometimes is the uncontrols. But I want to talk about one of Ryan's says your gifts are is you're pretty good about not worrying about that. You don't worry about the market. The market is the market. And here's something for you all to listen to. The last 2 years has sucked for a lot of us. What about you, Justin? It seems like you've had a good couple of years.
It's been fun. It's been a way to kind of change the industry, really, is where I'm focused on. But yeah, 23, we had our best year ever. Up to that point, I think we did 43, 44 million, somewhere in that range. Last year, between 55 and 60 million, and that was, another record year. This year, we're on pace to break that again. I think by the end of this month, we'll be close to right about 25 million. So um,
Already.
things are going well. Yes.
What's your average loan amount there, too?
It's like 510,000.
Okay. So you're double digit then closing, correct?
Correct. We
How
are.
many would you say you close on a regular basis right now?
Last month was 14. April will be right about 11. May is probably going to end up around 15, 16, maybe 17. Kind of
Woo!
depends on how this next week goes.
All right, come on, give me some thumbs up. That's some good numbers. And this is during a time when, a lot of us, a lot of our industry struggled. So, and don't feel bad. This is not about making you feel bad. This is talking to somebody that's relatable. And that's why we love having you on and why Ryan said you'd be great because a lot of times you see rock stars, that have been in the industry forever doing 100 million. You're like, well, okay, that's them. Or they have a team of like, oh, I have 10 on my team and all this
Yep.
other crap, where you're just, how many people would you say is on your team, not including your wife now, but how many are in your team?
So I've got a production partner. Her name is Val Miller. She's been with me right about a year now. And then that's really the only, I would say, employee that's on the team. I've got 2 other people that are more enterprise, oriented. They do have a heavy focus on my pipeline, my production, and my loans, but they're not part of my P&L right now. The goal would be to add probably another 1 to maybe 2 people this year, as we continue to kind of, grow and scale and climb the ladder, if you will.
Oh, I love that. And that's good because I asked the numbers because a lot of people are like, when do you need to add? Like I know in California, well, our loans can be very tricky in the LA area. They're unique. They're a
Yeah.
unique animal. We have so much industry people that make it tough. We don't have a lot of, I swear, does anybody get a W-2 in California? I swear. Our loans are a little challenging, but we've also learned that, you should be able to handle your own business up to about 5 or 6 pretty good. Once you get 6 to 10, you're at double digits. Now, of course, you're going to want to add on so you can leverage your time as the person that wants to do advisory work versus paperwork. Am I right?
100%. If you're going to scale it all, you have to release the reins, focus on your genius zone, where you excel, and then man, delegate the rest. And it
Right.
takes time. Takes time for sure to do that. I remember go back to 2019, 2020, right? You talk about all the all-stars that were doing 100 million. I wasn't that guy, and it was kind of looking at him like, wow, I don't know how I'm ever going to get there. They got there because they had great people around them that supported them. That's how they got there. That's the secret for everybody that wants to get to that production level.
And it's funny you bring up like, hey, how did these people do 100 million that are, back in 2020 and 2021? Here's the deal that a lot of you don't understand because you're like, well, I couldn't even do that much. Well, that's because Justin, you've been in the business 8 years. At that time, you only been at 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
Your database is just building. Those who hit those $100 million marks, just because on our team, I've been doing this for a long time. I have, our average loan officer is 20 years plus. We work with mostly producers. We're not the newbies. We send them to the banks.
Okay.
And the ones that did those kind of numbers just had a huge database. They
Big
had a
time.
database to go to do the refinances again and again and again. So the beautiful thing is, I'm telling you this is because the way you make money in real estate or mortgage is building your database. Plain and simple. Otherwise, you're transactional and you'll never grow. So, like our number one real estate agent in our valley for the last 20 years, we just did a big seminar with him. 225 agents showed up. It's his database. All he does is work his database like a fiend. Like he
Yeah.
calls them on the right time. So we're going to get into some specifics. Why not before we go into that? Because I want people to know Justin Padron, not just as a producer, but we're going to ask, of course, why you like this business, because a lot of people don't right now. A lot of people left. We went from 450,000 loan officers during the easy time. Like, when rates were going down, it was easy to be a loan officer. Now we're down to
Yeah.
117,000 licensed. I'm
Wow.
figuring about 50,000 actually work. The
Wow.
other ones just renew their license, don't even do much business.
Yeah.
So we went, substantially less competition. So that should benefit all of us when it starts to pick up a little bit more. But what do you like to do for your hobbies? It sounds like your kids are mostly your hobbies.
Man, that's probably the most fun thing that I get to do is just hang with my kids and play. Like my kids are involved in sports, so playing catch, trying to teach them how to catch, teach them how to hit a baseball or swing a baseball bat, things of that nature. When I'm not coaching or practice or anything like that, like to read books, like to hang out at the beach. My wife and I just got back from Cabo for the first time, so that was great.
Woohoo! My
Love to.
Gino's at Cabo right now at our house. We have a
Oh,
house
is
up.
it? Nice.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
man,
yeah.
what a cool spot.
Ah,
Never been
love
before.
Cabo. Love it, Cabo.
And then the other thing would be just golf and hanging out with, my kids and their friends and their parents. That's kind of a new phase for us is we kind of grew up with our high school people, college people, right?
Oh,
And
okay.
now because my oldest is in school, we're starting to meet some of his friends and their parents and starting to build a community.
It's funny how
Uh,
that'll be. You'll be hanging out with the other kids' family members and stuff like that,
yep.
especially as you're going through baseball and sports
Yeah.
and all that type of thing.
We're in that transition right now and it's been super fun.
Where'd you go to college?
I went all over. I've got a super unique story. So, when I graduated from high school, I was going to go to Texas Tech and play football out there. And my head coach in high school got the head job at the University of North Texas. So I went to University of North Texas, stayed there for a year, transferred to SMU. I was going to play
Oh,
with my brother. I'm type 1 diabetic and I had some issues, health issues. So I had to, hang up my cleats. I ended up picking baseball back up after not having played in 5 years, and went to a junior college called Northlake Junior College here in Irving. And then I went from there to Texas Wesleyan University in Fort Worth. So that's my long-winded answer to
well,
where
you're
did
an
you
athlete.
go?
You're an athlete, just
Yeah,
like a lot of us.
yeah,
It's funny when we're setting up sales mastery and picking certain speakers and coaches and stuff like that. A lot of it, when I talk to them, they're like, "Well, why are you choosing me?" and stuff. I'm like, believe it or not, a lot of our industry is either athletes or super competitive. That the top people, like my crew, is very competitive. Trust me. I mean, I love it. So
thousand
it,
percent.
it translates pretty easy, and that's why I figured you're an athlete. I still, I don't know, but I race professional motocross still at my age, like an idiot. I
Okay,
just raced this last weekend and got third in the 60 expert class. Out of
let's
anybody
go,
60 and
man.
over, I got third. So
Congrats.
yeah, not bad for an old guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, all right. So you like that. So I'm going to ask you because of your production, what's your handicap? Golf.
Like 19.
Okay. So that means you work.
I
So
work
I
all the
have
time.
I have a guy on my team. He might be on the call, and I'm not picking on him because he kicks my ass in golf. But I'm like, okay, that's why your production is where it is because he's a scratch golfer.
Okay.
It's really hard to become a scratch golfer and a top producer. Now, 19 means you do it on occasion when you can.
if we can find time in between practices and shuttling kids to this event, that event, this birthday party, yes, I'll be on the course, but not
right?
very often.
Right. So Troy's on here. Troy, put in what your handicap is because I know we're working you to the bone. I guarantee it's somewhere up in there. If he says lower, I'm gonna like we'll have another talk.
Sub 10. Pretty
Yeah.
solid.
Yeah. And sub 10? Woo! We're gonna put you to work, dude.
I love it.
Yeah, mine's 10 points, no, 11.7. So not too bad.
Okay. No, that's
Um,
pretty solid too.
yeah, not too bad. I haven't played though in 6 months, so we're dedicated. So on that note, I know a lot of you are on this call to find out what's unique about Justin. How is Justin having his best years ever? I mean, that's something nobody's saying right now. Very few. And if so, put it in the chat. Tell us like, yeah, you're crushing it or why. So we want to find out what your secret. What's the day in the life of a Justin Padron? Like, how did you go from a normal producer to increasing your business each year during some of the worst years in mortgage history?
Yeah. Yeah. Great question. So I would probably, I want to take a step back, right? Like kind of share a story about where this all kind of started. So I
Please,
was
we
at
like
a,
stories.
I was at an employer, big lender, and I got tired of that feeling. And I don't know if this resonates with anybody, but you know that feeling when somebody you have a great call, send out the pre-approval, they go under contract, and then they call you and say, "Hey, I found this guy. We really love you. You're amazing, but he's an eighth of a point cheaper, and I gotta do what's best for my family." Right? It just felt
Classic. Come on,
really.
send out some hearts and stuff. You know, this is what we're all dealing with. No, no, not just, I mean, everybody's dealing with this.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
felt really just commoditized, right? Like how do I differentiate myself? What do I do? And so I started exploring. This was probably end of 21, very beginning of 2022. I came across a LinkedIn video that Ryan Grant had put out, and it
Hmm.
was about helping families, not just like that phrase or that slogan, right? But he got really in depth about majority of our country is never going to be reaching out to a financial planner because they feel like they don't need one. And that $75,000 a year earner, $100,000 a year earner, they might not feel like they have enough money to take that next step and do that. And we, as mortgage professionals, we can take that responsibility on and we can help educate and inform and provide clarity around what that really means. And then we have the opportunity to make that introduction. And so for me, it just kind of was a different way of looking at the business. So that was 2022. Around April, I met with Ryan. August of 22, I joined our company and came in underneath Ryan, got to learn from these guys. And what I did at that time, I don't know if y'all remember 22, rates were kind of, climbing quite a bit, very
Yeah.
aggressively. And
Yeah.
the
Changed
market,
our whole world. Yes.
it did, the market slowed down tremendously, right? And so
Stopped.
a lot of people at that time, most people really just froze. They didn't know what to do. And
Right.
so for me, what I did, man, I really leaned into learning how to improve. How can I get better? What's my value proposition? How can I make a different presentation that's more impactful? I started asking better questions in the Dreams and Goals call. When we got to the pre-purchase consultation, it wasn't just about numbers anymore. It was really about trying to provide confidence and clarity for the consumer on the other end who is trying to figure it out on their own. And then they're using the internet to help them figure that out, right? And we all know kind of how the internet is. A lot of misleading and misinformation, and it just provides a lot of frustration for families. So I studied my tail off. And here's another story. This is one thing that kind of resonated with me from a work ethic perspective. It was Chris Bosch, the USA team, talking about he wanted to be the first one down to breakfast. So he got up at 4 a.m., got showered, went down, he walked into the room, and he noticed that Kobe Bryant was sitting there. And then as he got closer, he noticed that Kobe was drenched in sweat and already had two ice packs on his knees. So not only did Kobe, beat him into the breakfast room at that point, but Kobe had already gotten an hour and a half workout in, 2 hour workout in. That motivated me, right? There's not a lot of people that are going to be willing to put in the time to better themselves. And so when most people froze back in 2022, that's when I pushed harder. I didn't take my foot off the pedal. I pushed harder. I put my kids to bed 7:30, and then from 7:30 to 11:30, I was practicing. I was getting better. I was having conversations with myself and scripting with myself to make sure that it landed the way that I wanted to. And that really carried over into allowing me to have my best year in 23 and 24.
Beautiful story. All right, what's a good? I'd love to see some kudos from you guys. Some, I mean, come on. What's really cool is a lot of our industry froze because they really did not know what to do. Is very challenging. And I love that you took on Ryan's philosophy, which I've always loved. That's why he's been a speaker at our Momentum Builder events. It's because he's about his value proposition and helping people build wealth through real estate,
Yep.
right? That's his saying. And like you said, I pay
100%.
attention to what Ryan does because a lot of us, it's more important than ever because we're going to get commoditized more and more because of the rockets and the Redfins and the Zillows and all that stuff. It's just going to continue to happen. So we need to make sure that we have a strong value proposition that differentiates us. And I love that you took the time to learn that because we talk about this. You hear about it all the time. It's almost like a cliche, like, no, I'm going to be better than those guys. We'll prove it. How? Why? A lot of people just say it, but evidently you've been practicing on how to be that. And I guarantee you're super confident that you can provide that. Am I right?
1,000%. If you don't believe what you're telling the client, they're going to feel that, right? It all starts with confidence. And to be transparent, when I first started, man, I didn't have the conviction, the confidence behind it. And so the message wasn't delivered as well. And we still got, this guy's, an eighth of a point cheaper. I'm just going to go here, whatever, right? But as I kept practicing and kept improving, took that conversation to a different level. And now, man, I can say it with so much conviction and confidence that when we ask for the commitment and we get it, I know that the client's working with us. I
All
know
right,
that they're
so I'm
working.
gonna I'm gonna ask, which is beautiful. First off, Justin, thank you for being on a call and sharing, your secrets per se. And when I go up and on stage and speak in front of 1,000 people, like, why would you give away your secrets? I'm like, you know what? I'll be excited if two people actually do what I'm saying I'm gonna do. You're not worried about me being your competition or being on this call, right? You worry about
No, not at
Justin.
all.
Okay. So on that note, I'm gonna ask you how you handle, I guarantee, because even my team has to deal, everybody has to deal with it. Let's just say, because of the affordability challenge, because of how high rates are, how do you handle that conversation, or do you now eliminate it because of your value proposition? The right now the eighth difference or quarter difference, and I have to do what's right for my family. So I'm going somewhere else, even though I love you, Justin. And thank you for helping us get into the home because we're great at helping people get pre approved and get accepted home. And then they're like, thank you, bye. How do you handle that? How do you
Okay.
bring them back in? This is huge right now.
How much time do I have? Because I could literally spend 20 minutes on this.
Give me a thumbs up if you guys are okay with that. Because right now, I think it's one of our biggest challenges. Because
It's
what
a
you're going to
huge challenge.
share with us is how to differentiate. There we go. Thumbs up. I'm excited about this because I want to teach my team this even better.
Yes.
And they're good. Like, I mean, my team rocks, or they won't be on our team. We're very specific. In fact, we're eliminating people that are at the bottom of the barrel. Like, see ya. If you
Yeah.
don't want to be a Navy SEAL, you're off the team. But I love to hear it. Yes, Eric, let's hear it. I'll stop talking.
So conversion is super imperative right now. I don't know if you're like me, but
No,
leads are
it's our
down.
biggest challenge right now is
It
conversion.
is.
It went from, let's say, 80% to 20%. Am I right?
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I
Overall.
mean, for most, yes, I would agree with
Yeah.
that.
You're
So
like, not me.
I mean, well, and part of that is because of what we've implemented, right? My conversion really hasn't fallen off. And I don't say that to be boastful or conceited. I say that because we've put a lot of time and energy and
Hmm.
effort into our practice in improving ways that we can convert, right? So I like to sell against what the normal kind of loan officer is. And I'll ask questions. I'll ask very curious questions. Client gets on the phone with me or a Zoom meeting. I prefer to do everything via Zoom. Um,
Love it.
I'm going to ask them, majority of the time, hey, what concerns, what fears do you have about buying a home today? So we can talk through those. And it's going to be a few different things. Interest rates are too high. We're worried about a housing, bubble recession. We're worried about the monthly payment. And then we're just going to wait for home prices to fall. And people have that like insane conviction around home prices falling because Diana Olick is out there, right? And she's been
She's been
pumping.
saying it for 6 years, though.
She's
She's an
been saying
idiot.
it forever, and she's
Sorry,
been wrong.
I can't stand, because how's that worked out in the last 5 years? We're talking people have
Horrible.
lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity listening to her.
Hundreds,
I don't mind saying
hundreds
it
of
out
thousands.
loud. You can
No,
take
it's the
this recorded
truth.
and say, I'm like, if the facts are facts, plain and
Yeah,
simple. It's only gone up 25 to 30% depending on your market. Come on.
100%. In the
And a lot of
DFW,
people listened to her and didn't buy a home. What the F? Sorry, she pisses me off.
and she does me too, right? But
Yeah,
consumers don't know that. They focus on those headlines, and so they're scared. It's something that we as an industry have to help the families overcome, right? And here's the other part. I tell every client that I talk to, Don, I don't care if you buy a home, and I hope that that doesn't come off wrong. What I do care about in this call is that you have confidence and clarity around whatever decision you decide to make. And if that means that we need to build a plan, a strategy, and a timeline for you to buy a home, I want you to know I'm perfectly okay with that. If that means at the end of this call that you're ready to go and you're excited about buying a home, I'm
excited. I love that
also,
word, by the way. Get them excited, not like, oh, I have to. No, be excited
yeah,
about it. And here's why, but go ahead.
I'm also okay with that. And so what I did there is really just kind of lowered the bar, right? They're expecting some salesperson to come
Yeah,
on
you
and
took away the sales pitch.
try to sell them into a home, and that's not my approach. It's not. If you have concerns, I want to help you understand what it really means. And so I've got a really great slide deck that I'll walk through, right? If somebody's concerned about interest rates or a recession, well, what happens to interest rates during recessions? Do most people on this call know what happens?
Yes.
Interest rates historically go down, right?
Yep.
So if we get into a recession and interest rates go down, I'm going to ask one simple question. Don, in our market, if interest rates go from 7 to 6 or from 7 to 5, what do you think is going to happen to demand for housing?
It'll go up because
And
it's
I
more
shut
affordable.
up. I
Right.
make them answer the
Oh,
question, right? It's
ooh.
very just back and forth. It's conversational. It's not me just presenting and presenting and presenting. It's conversational in nature. I'll have another slide that I'll show that 90% of the time, home prices go up.
Mhm.
Most people don't know that.
Right. Only one time, really two, but one main one, which everybody knows about, the Great, Recession.
The Great Recession, right?
Yeah.
And during recessions, historically, outside of a couple of them, home prices go up. And the reason for that is because interest rates come down. Um, I'll also go into a little bit about, the Great Recession and why that market was a different market. We had 4 million homes on the market at that time. At that time, builders built a plethora of inventory, right? Because there was a lot of false demand with the ninja loans, no income, no job, no
Yeah.
asset verification
We
loans.
knew
So
it was going to blow up sooner or later.
essentially, if you could breathe, you could get a mortgage, right?
Right.
And when we help people have, whoa, I don't know what just happened to my light. Hold on one sec. That's crazy. I'm in here
That's funny.
moving and my light goes off. Hey Val, will you turn my light on? That's hilarious.
This
Uh,
is live.
yeah, I was gonna walk away, but I'll stay here until the light comes back on.
Oh, look at somebody's had a flashlight. Who did that? That was funny. That was good.
Hopefully
Uh,
Val can hear me and she'll come in here in a second.
oh
But
my goodness.
um, we try to give people confidence and clarity around that decision, right? It's that they can focus on what the media is telling them. They can focus on what their parents are telling them. There's a high likelihood that mom and dad may have bought in that market. What happened at that point, right? So some of their fears might be
Yep.
very justified because of the experience that they or their family went through. And if we're not
Right.
asking those questions, well, we're not doing our job. Like we need to have more curiosity around it. Like it's a valid concern that you're worried about home prices falling down. I want to show you this just to enlighten you and help educate you. And I don't know if
Make
this
you feel
resonates
better
with you or
about it.
not,
So you're taking
but
away the fears
100%,
with facts,
100%.
not with sales, but with facts.
And it's not just word of mouth, right? Like I have visuals that I can walk people through so they can see it. They can feel it, they can touch it, they can understand it. That's a big one. If you're just doing these things over the phone, man, it's a huge miss because you miss that opportunity to build that rapport and that relationship with people by doing it over Zoom. So I prefer, thank you, Val. I prefer to
See,
have everything
Justin
over
brings you
here.
out of the dark. Okay, so before you go on, I'd love to know because what's cool is I love the engagement, guys. This is awesome. Who here is doing that? Who is actually having a consultation? Like I know a lot, like one of our team members, I know for a fact, goes through an hour-long Zoom call with every single client and has helped his retention, his conversion and retention dramatically because they have a bond and they have these consultation. He walks through every little step, answers every little question, and very rarely does the client leave for that
Yep.
eighth. So,
Yep.
have you eliminated a lot of those conversations? I'm guessing about the eighth challenge.
Yes. And then the other thing I would encourage people to do is
Way to go,
if,
Eric.
if you're gonna lose, lose early, right? Like
Right.
there's nothing more frustrating than sending a pre-approval letter, calling the listing agent, updating numbers and loan presentations 15 times for a family, and then they leave you because this person right next door is an eighth or a quarter of a point cheaper, right?
Find
So
out right up front, right? If they're
find
just
out right up front.
shoppers, then shop me now.
At least you know going into it, right? And so you can set expectations at that point for yourself, your team, and for the consumer,
Yeah.
um,
And the agent.
and the agent, right? And
Because you
so
can let the agent like, hey, I know you want me to handle this deal, but they're shopping and it may actually hurt the transaction or the offer being accepted because we just say it's
mhm.
a online lender, a bank, or an outside lender that they don't know will jeopardize whether that offer gets accepted. I know I can call any listing agent in our town and say, hey, it's me. I'm like,
Yeah,
done. I know it's going to close. Somebody else closes. So if I let the agent know, hey, they're shopping, my agent goes to bat for me and says, you are not shopping
yeah,
because you will
thousand
not get the
percent.
home of your dreams without Don. Don's
Correct.
going to help us get this accepted. Don, they trust Don. And because of that, and you can't shift mid stroke because that's why the agent, because you're now jeopardizing my reputation that this is going to be a smooth transaction. Trust me, going somewhere else is not the answer. They
Thousand
can go
percent.
on your stage. So do you teach your agents this, I guess, this teamwork, this
Thousand
verbiage so that you
percent.
guys can back each other up?
1000%. So here's a perfect example. Had a veteran borrower that closed um, in March, and he talked to, I think it was either Navy Federal or Veterans United or something like that, right? They made a mistake and they put on the loan estimate that there was a $10,000 seller credit. There was no seller credit in the Texas contract. That's where the real estate commission was. And they thought that that was a seller credit. And this guy
Oh,
told his agent, hey, rates are the same, fees are the same, but these guys are somehow $10,000 cheaper. I'm going there. And I was like, time out.
impossible.
Let me look at this contract. Nobody's going to be 10,000. And here's a great line for you, right? If somebody says, hey, this guy's $5,000 cheaper, whatever, well, that's impossible because I only charge 1730. That's our origination fee. So nobody's going to be $5,000 cheaper for me. If you're seeing that, there's a reason for it. There's a reason why. Be curious about that. Don't take it personally. Get the documentation and help the client make a good decision. And after reviewing it, went back to the agent and said, hey, this is what's going on. This is what they did. Buyer came back, apologized, felt horrible, and we ended up closing his loan in March, right? So like it does happen.
Sure.
But we try to get ahead of that. And in my pre-purchase consultation, this is before the client ever goes out and starts shopping for a home. We have the pre-purchase consultation. We'll go through a ton of different stuff. I'm happy to share kind of everything that we go through. Um, but at the very end of that call, I'll always ask a few different questions. One, was this helpful? I want them to repeat back how helpful it was because the majority of people that I'm competing against that you are competing with as a loan officer, right? The majority of those people are taking a quick 15 to 20-minute phone call. They're sending a link and saying, hey, fill this out. They're asking you to upload your documents, and then they're going to provide you an itemized fee worksheet and say, when you go under contract, let us know. And I'll always ask that question to people. Hey, have you gone through this process before? Have you talked to anybody? And if they say yes, I just always ask, would you mind if I kind of took a stab at how that went? And that's the process. And 9 times out of 10, they always come back and are like, oh my gosh, yes, like that's exactly how the process went. So we're trying to sell
Real
against that
quick,
from the
I want to
start.
make sure everybody heard this because most won't do this. confidently, they'll feel that they gave value. So they just leave it at that. But I love you asked, because what it does is make the client solidify why you're different by asking, was this helpful to you and why? If so, why? And they tell you, it just solidified why they should work with you without
And
you having to tell them. They just told you. And you also know what was important to them. After all that consultation, they're telling you, here's the two things that were really helpful for me. You're like, I'm gonna ride that horse all the way to the commission line,
100%. And the second part of that question, once they say yes, is would you mind going back to your real estate agent and letting them know just how helpful this was? I don't care if it's the agent that I've done 75 transactions with or an agent I've done 5 transactions with. I want everybody they put me in contact with going back to them and telling them, Justin was incredible. Thank you for putting us in contact with him. We loved our conversation. I want every single person going back to that real estate professional telling them that.
I love that, dude. Okay, so what I'm also hearing, and we'll answer your question, Eric, because it was a very good question, because we always have to deal with that. But what I love is, if you guys are hearing, Justin has obviously put in the time, effort to make sure that he's confident with his value proposition for his customer and for his agent, to be able to talk like he does and offer like it versus, I hope they don't ask about rate. I hope they don't ask about rate. You're not even thinking that. You're like, here's what I'm going to do in value. So what I like to, Eric asked a good question. He basically, and we always have to do, I have a buyer now that's under contract. He took his cost sheet, because he's like, no, I'm giving you the best I can. And they went and showed it to another lender. And of course, the lender, of course, says what we all would say, I can beat that. How would you
Yeah.
handle that?
So believe it or not, this actually happened in April. Had a borrower that was supposed to go with us. They didn't. Full transparency, we lost the loan. The way that I handle that typically is not over a phone call. It's not through a text message. It's over a Zoom meeting. I want to try to get you in front of me and on Zoom, right? So that's the first thing. The second part of it would be, hey, cool, totally understand it. Look, at this point, it's not uncommon for many professionals in our industry to try to undercut somebody. They haven't done any of the work. They've not worked on your loan file for months. They've not updated loan presentations for you. They didn't have any contact with the listing agent. Yeah, on and on and on, right? You can go on and on and on about that. What I always try to drive back home is the client is really looking at this from a short-term perspective. They're not looking at this from a long-term perspective. And if I did my job correctly, my clients know our job doesn't just end once that loan closes. That's really where it just starts. We've got an annual financial review. We have a mortgages under management system that we use. We have a perfect mortgage promise. My clients know this, the majority of them. But even then, right, we're still going to lose some of those people. And at the end of the day, I've kind of just chalked this up to that's not my ideal client, and that's okay. That's okay, right?
Again, with what Troy said, don't take it personal. He
A hundred
loves that.
percent.
You can take it personal, because then it freezes you. You're like, oh, the next guy's going to do that to me. No, move on.
And
It's
then
not
it's
your
going to
client.
go into the next consultation. It's going to go into the next realtor meeting. Like that energy is important. And so pay attention to the energy that you're bringing to the conversation. So inevitably, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm perfect, right? Like I lose deals too, guys. Let's be straight up. Everybody in our industry does. It's part of our industry. So detach from the emotion of it. Don't take things personally and be curious about why. And so, for me, when
Love
I
it.
do have something like that happen, I like to get them on Zoom. I like to ask curious questions. I like to get an understanding of what they're doing. But then I'm also going to present out. And in my pre-purchase consultation, I'll pull up the MBS charts, MBS highway, right?
I
And
was
I'm
going
going
to
to
ask if
teach
you use
them
tools.
how mortgage-backed securities work and how interest
Mhm.
rates work. What I've been doing recently, and I hope that this is helpful and that this lands for people because I believe this is super impactful. I go back to 2024, September 9th through October 2nd. Look at those dates on the charts.
Right?
It's the highest that MBS prices were, which means interest rates were the lowest that they've been in over a year. And I highlight for people, if your loan officer, if your mortgage advisor doesn't have a systematic process to make sure that they don't miss this 3-week window, Don, guess what? You're going to be overpaying on your mortgage at some point. And Don, I get right now that this eighth of a point or a quarter of a point feels like it's going to be super impactful for you long term. I'm gonna be transparent with you. It's gonna be super impactful for a very short period because the likelihood that you're in this loan longer than 2 years is not very good. And if this professional that you decide to work with doesn't have a system and a process to make sure that you're never overpaying for your mortgage, which is part of my commitment, well, Don, I hate to break it to you, you're going to be overpaying at some point because the likelihood that you keep track
And a
and
lot
know
more than $12 a month.
when to refi in that 3 week window, if you're not monitoring rates on a daily basis, you're going to miss it. You are.
And I love the part too when you show them that chart and you could say, this is how interest rates really work. It's not the Feds. Everybody thinks it's the Feds. That's short term rates. But here's how it works. And look at the volatility. So anybody can quote anybody an eighth better at any type of day. But if they miss the right time to lock or protect you, then it could cost you.
Yeah.
So if they quote you on, did they lock it? Can they lock it? Will they lock it? Did they miss it? You're talking $12 a month for somebody who's not put in the work or the time, or good luck trying to get a hold of that loan officer in the future. Or will that loan officer be contacting you to make sure, like you said, not overpaying for in the future on your mortgage, which could be hundreds of dollars a month, not $12, hundreds of
100%.
dollars.
And so
That sound
here's
right?
1,000%.
Okay.
Here's a great way to not prevent, but eliminate a lot of that, right? Get the commitment at the pre-purchase consultation. If you
Yeah, I
feel
want to
like,
hear this because Ryan's all about this too, this commitment
oh,
piece.
this is huge. So here's what I do. I use what's called a TBD approval to gain commitment. And I don't know if many of you on this call know this, but 34% of homes that sold last year sold with a cash transaction.
Hmm.
Light
Still at
bulbs should be going
20,
off.
28% now still.
So light bulbs should be going off for mortgage advisors, right? A third of every deal that closed was a cash transaction. How do I make my borrower look exactly like a cash transaction to improve their offer acceptance percentage? If you don't have this, you're submitting an offer and 17% of the chances, or 17% of the time, you're going to get your offer accepted. If I can make your offer look like a cash offer, you go from 17% to 71. That's impactful. So what do we do? At the very end, I'll always ask, hey, if you feel like we're the right lending team and the right lending partner to help you, and we decide that we want to work together, don't just say you decide you want to work with me. You have to say, and we decide we want to work together. That comes off a heck of a lot different, a lot more confident than just saying, if you decide you want to work with me. I don't give a shit if you want to work with me or not. You
I
need
love
me,
that.
right? That's
Okay.
why I ask it that way. So from there, we're going to move into what the TBD loan approval process is. This is going to allow you to close in 10 to 14 days. It's going to allow you to waive your finance contingency. It's also going to give you the ability to make the decision on whether or not you want to waive the appraisal contingency. If you do all three of those things, Don, your offer acceptance percentage goes from 17 to 71%. Now, here's the key to it. I don't do this for people that are not committed to working with us. I only do this for
Ooh,
clients that are committed to working with us because it costs me about $1,000 to $1,500 in man hours in the amount of effort and energy my team is going to put into this to help you become the most successful homeowner you want to be. And
wow.
again,
Did
if
you
you
guys
feel
hear
like,
that? Repeat that. That was powerful because you're getting an ownership. I mean, that was really good because our biggest fear is they say they want to work with us, but are they committed? And I love that you put a dollar amount, meaning so they know that it's not free. Because some reason he's these clients think that we get paid like a salary or something like that. That we don't
yeah,
get paid unless the deal closes. And I love that you put a dollar amount. Who here does anybody put a dollar amount on your time so they understand that you're putting time and effort with your team or you? That was really brilliant. I actually haven't heard that too often, Justin. That was really good.
well, good, I'm glad. And so right there, I know, are they committed to working with me or are they not? And if they're not, that's okay. Don't get frustrated by that. All you have to do is just say, hey, no problem, totally understand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to provide you a list of questions that I think would be helpful and beneficial for you to look around and ask other mortgage professionals. and then stop, and then
Oh,
send them the list of 10 questions.
can you get that to us again? Ryan sent it to us at one point. If
Yeah,
Sonia's on that, I bet she can find it. But I remember Ryan having that before because when I talked to Ryan, we've had him on this call quite a few times. I love it because I guarantee eight of them they can't answer.
they have no idea how to answer. No idea
Yeah,
how to
it'll just
answer.
shut down your competitions. You're like, here's the difference between, basically a order taker
Yep,
versus a true professional.
that's it.
Okay. So
That's
he doesn't
it.
have a copy, but we'll get it from Justin though.
I'll send it to you.
Sonia will track it down. But I love that. I want to provide that. And thank you for sharing, Justin. That's freaking awesome. And you're talking about with your family. This is our mortgage, our momentum builder family. We only help
Yeah,
each other. We're not about stabbing each other in the back. That's
no,
a nice give because I know when you go, here's how confident I am. Ask these questions.
boom.
They're
And I'll
screwed.
send it out. I would be curious, the people that are on this call, right? And this isn't to like be demeaning to anybody, but I want you to review the questions and I
Yeah,
want
you
you to
should be able to
give
answer it,
your
right?
answer to those questions. And if you don't have one, we need to work on developing that. We need to improve our industry. The
I love
ability
that.
for people to get into our industry is so low. That bar is so low, right? Consumers expect a rate, a payment, and a cash to close figure, and that's all that they care about. We have to change the way that people view the mortgage industry and what's important from the mortgage advisor that they work with. And it's going to happen one family at a time.
So this is something, Ken, that it's an interesting thing. And you're right, Ken. A lot of our industry is cheapening themselves. And it's because they're commoditizing themselves. Just, Ken, if you listen to what Justin's doing, is he's decommoditizing himself and adding the value that he's earning. You're right, Ken. So many industry are just trying to survive. So they'll undercut each other to make freaking $500 right now just to get something. And they don't care if they screw our entire industry. Because, like, a perfect example, you'll love this, just in my area, it's the smallest 300,000 person community there is, Santa Clarita, outside of LA.
Okay.
Very close. Like, everybody knows each other, believe it or not. Our industry all knows each other. We've all been in it forever. The good guys, we don't even compete with each other now. We have agreed. Now, there's assholes that are just assholes in our industry that make it bad. They do illegal stuff, whatever. Hell with them. We're all against them because there's every industry, every market has those people. I won't say a name. A lot of them on this call go and know exactly what I'm talking about. They cheat the system and make our industry suck. For the rest of us that just want to do good for our clients, if they say, "Hey, I'm working with Fred Arnold," a lot of people know Fred Arnold. He's been on a lot of our calls. He's a national speaker. And they say, I go, and I'll ask, "Who are you working with?" And they'll say, "Oh, right now I've been talking with Fred Arnold." You know what? We don't need to have any more conversation. You are in great hands with Fred. He is one
Yep.
of the best in the industry. Stick with that. There's no reason because Fred is as good as I am, and stick with him because we don't. All we're doing is if I go, "Oh, I can beat Fred," all I'm doing is cut my commission. So then they call Fred up, and then Fred has to like, "Really, Don, you freaking cut my commission." So he'll have to cut his just a piss because I pissed him off. Instead, we just agree to not compete, and therefore we don't lower each other's commissions. We validate each other, and then we'll
100%.
take it away from the other end, the banks, the online lenders, and the assholes. Sorry, it's a technical term, the assholes in your industry. So it works. We've been doing it for 2 decades, 3 decades, I know of, and we don't have any problem. It actually saves our commissions because we've earned it. Fred
Yeah.
earns it. I can name
Thousand
a bunch
percent.
of people in my town I will not compete with. We have a standing agreement. But now some of these other names, I'll keep quiet. We will do everything we can to beat them, and collectively we'll try to beat them because they're bad for our industry. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
It's just a
Yeah.
race to the bottom. And if a client calls you, right, to do that, find out some questions. How's the experience been with your mortgage professional? Have they done this, this, and this? Right.
I
And
love you
then
have like, this is what actually you're setting expectations that they don't know they should have. They
yep,
think, like you said, the three things we want: rate, payment, and that'll close. If you, let's say there's so much more to the biggest debt, the biggest asset of your life, and moving forward, I love, like I said, Ryan's best quote always is, "My goal is not just one loan, it's to help you create net worth through real estate. And 90, I mean, a homeowner's net worth is 47 times greater than a renter. And
Yep.
most people's net worth is through real estate.
100%.
So I'm here to
100%.
help facilitate that. How do they say no to that realistically? And if
Some
they do, they're
will,
not your client
and
anyway.
that's it, right? Is like you have to be okay with that. Not, it's not going to land and resonate with everybody. And that's okay. They're not my ideal client. I'm okay with that now. Early in my career, I will say, I wasn't that way. I
Right.
needed every loan. Look at these little kids right here. I had to provide, I had to put food on the table, I had to pay for a Montessori school that they went to, right?
That's not
I've
cheap.
grown in my career and I've become a better mortgage professional over the last several years. And it's allowed me to be a little bit more choosy in who I decide to work with. Ultimately, it's my decision, right? They might decide that
Okay.
this person's better because they have an eighth of a point lower interest rate. I could match it if I want to. I might just decide I really don't want to work with this person.
Okay, let me touch on this when we're getting closer to the end of the hour, but this is super important. Changed my career. What you just said, and hopefully you guys are listening to this because our biggest challenge in our industry is working with, again, this is my technical term, assholes, which could be clients or agents. So I
Yep,
almost quit the industry because I felt I wanted every potential deal I could. So I'll work with whoever I have to work with to make a deal, whether it was a shitty agent or a shitty client. And then luckily, a guy down the street from you probably know the name Jim McMahon.
I do.
He's a classic. He was one of the first $100 million producers, and I
Yep,
was a rookie learning and everything. And he basically told me, he goes, "What's your challenges?" And I told him, "I go, I work with these assholes." And then he goes, "All right, Don, here's the one thing I want to teach you." And he did it with a little southern drawl. He goes, "There's enough people to do business your way to not worry about those who don't." And he's $100 million producer. At that time, I was doing 15 million. Talk about how long ago it was. But that's that changed my career and me. I'm gonna go all the way back to the start of this interview. Is you like what you do
I
because
love
of
it.
that. You're confident in what
Yes,
you do. You work with who you want to work with, and those kids behind you and your family behind you is what it's all about.
1000%. I won't ever do
Wow.
anything different. It's a joy for me that I get to bring my wife on. It's going to free me up from a time perspective. So my wife is going to come on. She's going to be the business development person for me, which is, to be transparent, it's not anything that I love doing anyway. It's going to free me up from doing those activities that drain my energy. It's going to allow me to focus on what I'm really good at, and that's the client piece, the connection, the conversion, the leadership piece. And that's where the money's made. And so when my wife can go out, she can develop relationships and she can get me in front of those real estate professionals. I can come in and deliver massive value, but I don't have to be the one that's trying to get the meeting and setting all that stuff up. She's going to handle that. And just for background on my wife, like she's probably the biggest asset or hire that I could have ever hired. She's a real estate attorney by trade.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
she's massively reducing her income to come and work with me. I say with me because it's definitely not for me. She's going to be the CEO, and I'm going to be kind of doing what I do on my side and letting her kind of systematize and optimize our business. Um, but yeah, super grateful for that. I'm super excited to get to
Well,
bring her on
you're a
board. And
smart man because you did what I did. You married up.
oh, massively, massively.
All right, so please give some kudos, some hearts. This was phenomenal, Justin. I'm so excited that Ryan, because I asked Ryan, I'm like, I want two names, because he's like, hey, I want some people involved in sales, man. I go, I just want two names, because poor Ryan, I've had him on every year. I'm like, we're changing it up. We have to put new faces in. We want next generation. We want new ideas. We can't bring back the same old, same old. Like, sorry, Ryan, you're out. He goes, all right, I'll bring some peep. So you should be very proud that your name and Peter's came up
Thank
as
you.
two people that could teach us something. JB, you crushed it.
Thank you.
Absolutely are a beautiful person for our industry. You deserve everything your success in life and business. Kudos to you. You've earned it. You put in the time and the effort to differentiate yourself and not expect just because you're there, you're putting the time in. And I'm so proud of you. You're
Thank you,
great
man.
for our industry. And I love, like you said, it's time to change the industry. And that's what Momentum Builder is all about and what Sales Mastery is all about. I will be talking to you about being part of it, by the way.
I,
So
I, I was going to put some feelers
put
out there, like I want to be part of it. So
okay, October 14th through the 17th. So let's put that up. If all of you aren't signed up for it, I'm going to challenge everyone. I honestly, there's no, this is not a sales pitch. I know the effort Todd Duncan and I and our team, including Sonia, who's on this call, are putting in to make this the premier event that's going to change lives. And it's not a cliche, it's effort. Very, very strategic. The speakers we have coming on, the coaches we have coming, the layout we have coming on is going to change. And I'm telling you, no one ever has done this at an industry before. But when you leave each session, you're going to dig on this, Justin. Every session will have an implementation playbook digitally
bingo.
sent to you. So when you leave, instead of going, now what do I do with all this? Nope, here you go. Here's
That's
exactly
huge.
what you should have learned from that and how to implement it, because we want everybody to walk away. We want anybody that's part of Sales Mastery Momentum Builder to be the best in the industry, bar none. And anybody that's not part of it, they're going to get their butts kicked by us. Plain and simple. So
1000%.
please sign up. Right now, there's a discount right there, discount code. It's not going to get any cheaper. So freaking sign up. And what's cool, Justin, we already started the journey. So every month, Todd Duncan, myself, and Gino and Craig, we get on calls every single month, giving you strategy calls every month. You also get the Fuel app, which you should check out, the Fuel app for 90 days for free to try, which is amazing. It's a micro dosing of inspiration, knowledge, ideas, all that on a regular basis. And you also get Selling Power Magazine. You get, Josh Pitts with Shredded. You get
Yep.
his program to try for 15 days, which is the easiest way to do your videos. You let it go, blah, 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 send it to him. And the next day it comes back basically with all your captions and everything. It's cool. And it makes you cool and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to go hire somebody to do it or anything. So a lot of value, a lot of value. Here's our upcoming speaker. Probably Phil Treadwell, amazing coach, inspiration. Chris Solar, who's right down the street from you. She's over at Benchmark with Jim McMahon. She's an amazing lady. She can't even hardly leave her house, and she's closing 20 deals a month
Wow.
because the value proposition and she's so diligent in what she does every single week, makes consistency and value that she closes, like I said, 20 deals a month. So really, Justin, this was a treat. And I can't wait. We're going to have you back on because I know you could keep going on for another hour, as I can. Thank you, everyone, for being part of our show. We're going to break this up in pieces and be sending it out to you. Please share Sales Mastery. Bring your real estate agents. We have a speaker, the number one real estate speaker. Can't say the name yet. We're going to make a big deal. Going to be there. Number one mortgage speaker and Todd Duncan, number one real estate speaker coming on, let alone all the other good ones. So bring your agents, bring your